And I once again just want to share a few words of encouragement. Hopefully, it helps you to get you on your journey or help you to realize that you're actually just stuck in traffic. Now, today, I just want to share a few words of insight, and hopefully, it can help to shed some level of perspective on far as for the believers, that is. Okay, for the believers or the Christians or the followers of God, we tend to use the phrase that the devil made me do it, as a means of saying that the only reason you yield to that temptation or the only reason you committed that sin was as a result of the devil somehow, using you like a puppet to put forth this action that now bringeth forth sin. Now, like you don't have any accountability for that action. And I just want us to stop for a minute and stop using that as a cop out, for a lot of the things that we find, our circumstances that we find ourselves in. A lot of times the circumstances that we find ourselves in is because we brought it upon ourselves with our own hands, with our own minds, with our own lustful desires. We brought these things upon ourselves. Okay? So we need to stop blaming the devil for every single thing, and you're giving him way too much credit, for a lot of the situations that you're in. The Lord also gives you a choice. You have freedom of choice to an extent. So when you now take that freedom of choice or use that freedom of choice to fulfill your lustful desires that is to the contrary or the moral standings of God, this is where sin is conceived. Now, yes, I would like to say that, Satan do play an instrumental part in some of the negative chastisement or the negative scenarios that are presented in your life. Case in point, the man or the woman of your dreams is not going to come where they're actually already married to someone else. That's not going to be the woman of your dreams for my fellas. You're not going to find the man of your dreams, but he's already married to your cousin. you know so a lot of times we find ourselves lustful after looking at a desirable individual, and we would like to say, man, well, is God send this individual our way, and this individual now that the Lord have presented to us, is someone that is definitely was made for us and created by God in God's image for us and so forth. And this is the lie we start to construct in our head to give the justification for the action that we're now going to put forth. You see, and this action that we're going to put forth is an adulterous act because this woman already have a man. You see? So now when you find yourself in this situation, now you put foot and now you're sneaking around and trying to hit this woman up and trying to take her out on these secret rendezvous and so forth. And the husband might find out, or whoever you might have been involved with might find out, and here it is, the scenario starts to unfold, and it might end up costing you your life, it might end up costing you financially, but then here it is, you have this scenario. So now who made you fall into that scenario? Who put you in that particular circumstances? It was your own lustful desire. Like the scripture tells us in James 1:13-15, it tells us that God don't tempt any man with evil. Again, God cannot be tempted with evil, neither do he tempt any man with evil. You see, is when you're drawn away of your own lust and entice, this is what now causes you to bring forth sin. And now the scripture tells us the wages of sin is death. You see, so if you're engaging in sinful behavior, don't use the cop out like the devil made you do anything. Yes, the stage might have been set, but you had the choice to walk away. You had the choice now to turn and look the other way and not give in to that desire. You see, you have to be aware when you see these stages are being set or these scenarios are being lined up. And a lot of times when the devil is trying to trap you up, it's always to where the greatest benefit, it's lying right inside of the trap. So if you're having a situation and everything else looks bad, but the reward just seems so magnificent and the reward seems so great, that's a scenario that is setting you up for failure. So turn away. You know what I mean? You have to find every strength within you to resist. You see, the scripture also tells us, resist the devil and he shall flee from you. You see, so the Lord is always giving you a way out. You see, Eva had this option where God gave her the instructions, But then now here it is that wicked serpent came and present a scenario to her and tell her, hey, listen, you can have your eyes open and you can be just like God. You see? And because she desired that, you see, God already gave her everything she wanted in the garden, everything she could possibly want. But then somehow there's something within all of us, you know, especially when we come to the Lord, there's desires within us that we might have suppressed over the years. But now when you come to God, all of a sudden, all those things starts to rise to the top. You know, if you're in a position now of power, now you're in a position to abuse that power. You know, now you're going to be enticed with all the women. For the fellas, you know, if you're in a position of leadership, all of a sudden, you know, with your ugly self, all of a sudden you now look like Don Juan. You see? But you have to realize that these are all traps. You see, you have to be able to resist. You have to be able to discern. You know, and you can't discern if you always want to yield to your temptation. You know, everything starts with a thought. You know, and a lot of times, you know, it says at least 70,000 negative things we think of daily. So within the midst of all of that, you know what I mean, you have to find a way to stay on track. And staying on track could be something that could be, you know, a little challenging at times, but you have to stick with it. You know, because the resistance is what's going to yield the greatest reward. And that's eternity, life everlasting. So stop blaming the devil for every situation that you get in. And stop looking for someone else to hold the accountability outside of yourself. All right, this is Kanai once again, sharing these few words of insight. Shalom.